Hello, it's Thursday, December 31st, 2020. I did this card reading this morning, not being very disciplined at card reading, but have dabbled with it over many decades. And there's a reason why I was compelled to do this today. I feel it's something that needs to be shared. It's a lengthy spread that I learned 30 some odd years ago, and I do from memory, but it tends to give some pretty clear messages, so this one kind of hammered on the same things over and over again. And my question was, what do we need to know going into 2021? And the first card that's laid out there, I decided to relay it as I go along, so you could see what happens. This first card is pulled in isolation, then I reshuffled the deck, and it's relating to the question. And what I got was the Three of Cups. Now this card is a card of connection. It's a card of familial relations, unconditional love, returning to that kind of relationship building on not a material, but a level of love, coming together as communities, not because I get anything out of it, not because these relationships are transactions, but because we're family. Coming back to that kind of feel. We're in a really interesting place in the world right now, and it is all over this reading. So this is what we need to know, where we need to go in 2021. We need to reconnect, and that brings us to the first card of the reading, which is, where are we with that? And where we are is the Five of Swords, which is a card of reflection on the struggle. It's the clearing of a battlefield, taking stock of what we've been through and what we've lost, and realizing that, you know, our strategy is not going so well. And we got to do things maybe a little bit different. We need to clean up the mess and face the challenges ahead. Maybe a little wiser. You know, take a good look at how did this happen, and how can we avoid this, you know, having to clear these swords and the sadness and whatnot. So that's where we're at. And I don't know, that seems pretty world at large right now. We're in a place where a lot of things we know we have to do things differently. So what are our obstacles to this? Our obstacles are the Magician. Now the Magician in and of itself, it's a wonderful thing. We're a little too caught up in this, though. The Magician, you know, tells us that we're capable of great things, of magic, right? But the Magician alone, like that aspect of us, is not necessarily a good thing if that's all we focus on. And that's how it's our obstacle, right? We've got to reassess the way we've been doing everything to suit our needs. Humanity has such a huge impact on everything, including itself. And the decisions that we've been making based on what we can create have put us in some pretty dire straits. So that's where we're at, and we're going to look a little bit about where we're coming from. That's what's behind us. And again, here we go. This is where we're coming from, this place of being basically full of ourselves and what we can do, and selling it in a very material way. What we can create, how we can affect the environment. And we can make things, create things like 5G, which is being imposed on us, and sure, it's the new greatest thing supposedly, but at the same time there's some pretty scary risks that, even if they are minimal, are they willing to be taken? I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here, but we've got this focus here on our talents and our creation, and what we can get out of it, and what we can, sell. And so that's what we're moving away from. We're moving into. This is where hope comes from, people, is the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands is, a card of patient contemplation, really assessing what's going on there and taking a real look, getting past the diversions of our egos and really looking at what's out there in the real world and what we can do with it. What we can do with it, rather than, what we can take from it, or how we can make it fit us, how we can work with it in cooperation. We need to move away from the competition of the marketplace and into, a sustainable reality. Move away from our ideas and into, actual knowledge and wisdom and observation. And that's where we're moving. And we're literally, like, the universe has given us this gift of COVID that has put us in the perfect situation to take this on. This is where we are. And it's not, feel good. Toxic positivity is a real thing, people. We need to start assessing the realities of our existence. And so, what do we have to work with? What is beneath us? We've got this Four of Cups, which again, is this card of contemplation, of really evaluating. There's the melancholy here. And we've got to give up a lot of ghosts. Our materialism, our focus on our creation and our physical being, and how we can manipulate it and change it to fit our ideas and our magic. And the real world and our environment and each other back towards each other. We have to sit and look at how we got here, and that means that we have to feel things that we don't want to feel. We really should be feeling some shame. I don't want to make people feel ashamed. We feel ashamed because we know what we are doing is destructive. We know what we are doing. We have to move away from it. It brings us to this next card, which again, hope. There's so much hope moving in. We've got the King of Swords, and this again, internal wisdom. Knowing we can achieve this. This card represents the best that we can arrive at, what we are really, truly capable of. This magic, this ideology here is great, but it can be very destructive. We need to balance. It's kind of like the influence more of the pineal gland than the amygdala on our intellect. And this King of Swords is the master of discernment, of really weighing things, willing to question the status quo, willing to say, yeah, you know what, maybe what's going on here isn't in our best interests. What do we need to do? There's a lot of, not necessarily there's so much hope. You just got to be willing to actually deal with the realities, the discomforts. If we didn't have discomfort, people, we'd never have gotten to where we are, because mostly what we do is human beings is try to find ways to be more comfortable. We just forgot that it's not just all about us, it's about everything. So that's the basic spread, and these last 4 cards are sort of like, okay, so how do we achieve that? How do we utilize all of this? How do we get back to one another and realize that cooperation rather than competition, forgiveness rather than damnation, love of each other, willingness to sacrifice. These are the things that we need, that familial love, that brotherhood of man, that sisterhood, that all-encompassing, we are humanity. That's where we need to go. How do we get there? Well, the universe has set this up great for us, guys. Where we are, individually, where we need to be. We got the Hermit. We need this isolation. We need to be sitting in ourselves, contemplating these things, assessing really what our life is about. And it's not about chasing the lifestyles that we make up, that we decide that this is the way we want it to be. And then we realize, no, that's not the way we want it to be. We're so discontent. We have to center in ourselves. Take this time that we've been so blessed to be given to figure out how to get out of this mess. We can do it. We've got it in us to do it, right? So what's the world around us like? What's our environment? What are other people going to be focused on too? And we all are. It's the 5 of Cups, and this is a cup of material loss. But it's not necessarily bad, right? It's a shedding of we've got to give this up. Accepting that sadness, the melancholy, yeah, it's been great. One thing I will say, and I've apologized to my son most of his life for the selfishness of my generation. The way that we sat back and just kind of went, la 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 la, I can't hear you, and went on to completely get absorbed in a very materialistic, profit-seeking, business-oriented, transactional manner, and we've gotten so far away from our connections to one another in nature. And there's all this fun stuff that we make up, but it's hurting us, and we gotta give it up. So the next card represents hopes and fears. What is it we're striving for? What is it that scares us? And it's the High Priestess. This returning to the spirit, more spiritual, emotional. We're scared of that. That's why we ran away. Emotions and our spiritual connection is powerful. It's so enormously powerful, and that's why we're uncomfortable with it. Because we live in a society that doesn't want us to be able to embrace it. And so it's made us scared of it. That's why it's our hopes and our fears to believe that we have that inner knowledge, we have that wisdom, we have that connection to ourselves, to one another, to the universe. We have that, but it's scary because it tells us lots of things we don't want to hear, because we want to be full of ourselves, and we forget how much of a part of everything we are. It's scary because it means we have to give up a lot. We've got to think about it, and we've got to give up a lot. But at the end of the day, if we have faith that if we work for these things, if we work for love, if we believe that we can sacrifice, then we will be taken care of. We will be fed, and we will be clothed, and we will be housed. Why? Because God will provide good, orderly direction. When we approach each other with unconditional familial love and we accept the realities of living as part of this planet. And we share in the burdens, and we think about things, and we question ourselves, and we keep ourselves in check. We will be taken care of, and we just have to believe it. We have to believe it and act in that manner, and that is our hope for 2021 right there. And I'm so grateful that I've been given this connection to share with you all that hope going into our future. We've been given a gift here to sit back and really take a look. We have the time to sit back. We don't have to rush off to our jobs, a lot of us. We can actually cope with struggling with some of the shame, some of the guilt, the need to adjust, the accepting that a lot of our creature comforts and these lifestyles that we chase and all of this crap that we make up is destroying us. Taking the time to find the value in that and move towards a future where we have abundance. We don't need to seek it. If we seek enough, we will always have more than enough. If we love one another, all of us unconditionally, we will all always be loved. That is what God is, people. And there are a lot of voices through the centuries that have said so, including names like Jesus and Buddha. We have to give up this in order to have it. We have to give up our control of it and our manipulation of it. Not completely. These serve purpose. But work in harmony with it, not like because that just is destructive. So, I want to thank everyone who let me do this. Give this message of hope for the next year. I've never done this like this before, and it's an honor. It's an honor for the first time. I'm not a reluctant messenger right now. I want to give you all this message of hope for the coming year. I want to thank my Creator for giving me this channel, and thank you all for listening